All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something, well, I think a lot of our listeners are probably working on, and that's mastering English. And we've got this really cool set of sources that are basically a conversation between Rohan, he's learning English, and Priya, his friend, who is really tech savvy. And they are using ChatGPT in some pretty smart ways.
Yeah.
So our goal today is to kind of pull out those techniques, those insights, so you can start using them too. No matter where you are in your English learning journey, think of it as like your guide to AI-powered language improvement.
Right. And what's so cool about these sources is it's all about practical application. Like, we're not just talking theory here.
Right.
We're seeing how Rohan is actually using ChatGPT, getting that personalized feedback, making real progress. And it's with Priya's help, right?
Yeah.
Guiding him through it. And that's what makes this so valuable for our listeners. It's like having that instant support, something you don't always get with traditional methods. I mean, we're going to be covering a lot. From nailing down basic grammar, expanding your vocabulary to having more complex conversations, writing like a pro, even fine-tuning your pronunciation. It's all in here.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first aha moment, and I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people, is right at the beginning of the conversation. Priya catches Rohan making a couple of mistakes that, I think a lot of English learners make.
Oh, for sure.
He says, I am liking this movie and I agree with you.
Yeah, classic mistakes, but super common.
And what's great is Priya, she jumps right in and explains why those are wrong.
Right. And she does it in a way that's clear and easy to understand. Like with I am liking, she points out that you don't usually use present continuous for, general preferences.
Yeah.
Like liking a movie. It's more for things happening right now in that moment.
Right.
And then with I am agree, she's corrected to I agree. She explains that agree is one of those verbs, those stative verbs, that doesn't use the continuous form in that context. It's just I agree. Simple.
I think what's so insightful about that is it's not like a formal grammar lesson. It's just these little corrections that happen naturally in conversation.
Exactly.
And it's immediate.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, imagine having that kind of feedback anytime you're practicing English. You say something, you get instant feedback. It could really help stop those common mistakes from becoming, bad habits.
Absolutely. It's like those little course corrections right there in the moment. And it helps you build good habits.
Yeah.
And this leads us to one of the most, basic ways Priya suggests using ChatGPT as a daily conversation partner. But it's not like those robotic drills you see in some language apps. This is about real interaction.
Right. So Priya gives an example. She says you can just start a chat with something as simple as, hi, ChatGPT, can we practice casual English? And ChatGPT is going to respond just like a person would.
Right. Like, of course.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Yeah, exactly. And then as you're chatting, and this is where it gets really useful, this is what you can start doing today. After you say something, just ask, did I say that correctly?
That's it. That one question turns casual chat into this amazing learning opportunity. You can literally test out sentences, your phrasing, all in this low pressure environment. Imagine you say something like, it was good, I watched a movie.
Yeah.
And then you just tack on, did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT, it's either going to confirm that you're right,
right,
or it'll give you a more natural way to say it.
Yeah.
Having that instant validation or correction is just so valuable.
And it's not just limited to casual conversation, right? Priya shows Rohan how to get help with specific grammar points, too.
Oh, absolutely.
So remember Rohan asked about the sentence, she go to school?
Yeah.
And Priya shows him how to prompt ChatGPT for help. Like, you just type in, is this correct? She go to school.
And The great thing about ChatGPT, it doesn't just say no.
Right.
And actually gives you the correction. No, it should be she goes to school. The verb must agree with she, third person.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, see how the AI is actually explaining the rule.
Yeah.
It's not just about fixing the error. It's about understanding the why, which, really helps you avoid making that same mistake again and again.
Right. So we're seeing ChatGPT can be like a conversation partner, a grammar guide.
Yeah.
Let's talk about vocabulary now, because, that's another big thing for English learners.
Oh, definitely at every level.
So Priya suggests prompting ChatGPT with, give me 10 advanced words for happy with examples. And the source gives some great examples like ecstatic, jubilant, thrilled.
I love those words.
Yeah. And the key here, and this is what you should be doing, is not just seeing those words, but actually thinking about how you might use them. And, ChatGPT can then give you example sentences so you really get the context.
Exactly. You're not just memorizing a list. You're seeing those words in action. It's much more effective.
Right. And it gets even more practical when Priya talks about professional vocabulary, words that you might use in a work setting.
Mm-hmm.
So she suggests a prompt like, give me 5 more professional ways to say, I think. And ChatGPT gives us, in my opinion, from my perspective, I believe that. It appears to me that I would argue that. So if you want to use English in a professional setting, having these options, knowing the nuances, it can really take your communication up a level.
Oh, yeah. Think about how often you say, I think, in a work email or a presentation. Having these formal options it makes you sound more confident, more precise. Mm-hmm. And you can even ask ChatGPT to explain the subtle differences between them.
Right. Okay. Shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about writing.
Okay.
Emails, reports, even social media posts. Writing clearly and accurately is super important.
Mm-hmm.
So how does ChatGPT fit in here? What did Rohan and Priya talk about?
Well, Priya really emphasized using it for professional emails.
Okay.
She suggests prompts like, help me write a professional email to a professor, or help me write a formal email to a client apologizing for a 2-day delay in delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's really powerful for learners is that ChatGPT can help you with the whole thing. It can give you a starting point,
mm-hmm.
suggest good phrasing, and even help you get the tone right for the situation.
Yeah.
It's like having a writing assistant.
Right. And the example in the source material, I thought this was really interesting. The subject line and opening for that apology email.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, subject, sincere apologies for delivery delay. Dear client's name, I sincerely apologize for the unexpected delay. And, seeing that example, it really shows you how ChatGPT can give you a good structure and make sure you're hitting the right level of formality.
Exactly. It's a huge confidence boost, especially when you're writing in English and the stakes are high.
Yeah. It can be intimidating.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's like having this template generator that's also really sensitive to the nuances of language. You can take that initial draft, make it your own, add your specific details, but you're starting with a solid foundation.
All right. So we've seen how ChatGPT can help with spotting errors, practicing conversation, building vocabulary, improving writing.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those grammar sticking points that a lot of learners struggle with?
Oh, yeah, those tricky bits.
Yeah.
Well, the conversation between Rohan and Priya, they actually address some of those common pitfalls. Prepositions, for example, those can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
Rohan makes a mistake. He says, I'm good in English. And Priya corrects him. She says, I'm good at English.
Right.
And then this is the important part. She tells him to ask ChatGPT which preposition follows good.
Uh-huh.
So for our listeners, this is how you can use AI to clear up those confusing preposition rules. because, sometimes they just feel random.
They do, articles too. And yet, a lot of learners trip up on the source gives the example of I want an apple versus I want an apple.
Right.
And the suggested prompt is explain when to use a versus n.
And again, it's all about the explanation. ChatGPT, it can break down that rule about using and before a vowel sound, not just a vowel letter.
Right.
And that's an important distinction. Understanding that could really help you, make your spoken and written English so much more accurate.
Yeah. It's those little underlying principles that are so important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot, but let's move on to actually using these skills in real situations.
So, all together, yeah.
And Priya introduces some really clever role-playing ideas.
Oh, I love the role-playing part. It's so useful.
Yeah.
Because it helps build confidence and fluency, right?
Yeah.
So she suggests a job interview simulation. The prompt is simple. Act as a hiring manager. Ask me 5 interview questions. Now, for our listeners, this is amazing. It's a safe space to practice those common interview questions in English. Get comfortable with the format, even ask for feedback on your answers.
That's so smart, especially if you need to use English for your job.
Yeah.
And then there's this other role play idea that I thought was really fun. It's the strict English teacher.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
The prompt is act as a strict English teacher, have a 5-minute conversation with me about climate change, and correct all my mistakes.
I love that.
And the example they give is hilarious. Rohan says, many people is not caring about environment. And ChatGPT, being the strict teacher, jumps in with the correction. Many people don't care about the environment. Now continue.
It's so good. And what I like about that strict teacher role is that it kind of pushes you to just speak more freely.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to get that immediate feedback on any mistake you make.
Yeah.
It helps you identify those recurring errors and really focus on fixing them.
Yeah. And for those who want to get a little more creative, Priya suggests storytelling practice with a prompt like, help me create a 1-minute story using rain, umbrella, and adventure. It's getting you to think creatively, work on sentence construction, expand your vocabulary, but in a fun way.
It's a great way to play with language. Yeah, and afterwards you can ask ChatGPT to check your story for grammar, vocabulary, style. Another layer of feedback.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Right.
Okay, now we can't forget about idioms.
Ah, yes, those tricky little expressions.
Yeah.
So Priya's suggestion is, teach me 10 common American idioms with examples. Then quiz me.
I like that.
And the example they give is, hit the nail on the head, meaning be exactly right. And then they show it in a sentence. You hit the nail on the head with that analysis. So you learn the meaning, see it in context, and then you can get quizzed on it.
Yeah, it's a much more active way to learn idioms, right?
It is. It's not just about memorizing a bunch of phrases. It's about understanding how they're used in real life.
Okay, we've covered grammar, vocabulary, conversation, writing, even idioms. But one of the biggest challenges for many learners, and this is something I hear all the time, is pronunciation.
Yeah, pronunciation can be tough.
And this is where the voice features in tools like ChatGPT can be really, really helpful.
Game changer, yeah.
Priya suggests using your microphone to speak a phrase, maybe like, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and ChatGPT can transcribe it, highlight any words you mispronounced, and even give you phonetic corrections.
And being able to hear and see where you're mispronouncing words, that's powerful. The phonetic transcriptions, they give you a visual guide for how to make those sounds correctly.
Right. And if you're working on accent reduction, Priya gives this great example for a Hindi speaker. The prompt is, I speak Hindi as my first language. What are 5 English sounds I probably mispronounce, and how can I fix them? And the examples focus on the D sound, which Hindi speakers often pronounce as a D.
Yeah.
And then V versus W, which can be tricky for lots of learners. And they even give specific tips for practicing.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach.
Yeah. And the key is that it's tailored to your native language. If you're a Spanish speaker, a Mandarin speaker, whatever your background is, ChatGPT can give you that customized guidance.
Exactly. And that kind of personalized feedback is what makes all the difference.
Okay, so we've seen that ChatGPT has all these possibilities for English learners. But for our listeners, how do you actually structure your learning? How do you make the most of it?
Well, Priya has this great idea about creating a weekly learning plan with ChatGPT, and she gives examples for different days.
Okay.
Like for Monday, it might be give me 5 grammar exercises on present perfect tense. Wednesday, maybe simulate a restaurant conversation.
Oh, I like that.
And then Friday, analyze this news article with me. So it's like having this structured approach, but it's all personalized.
Yeah.
And make sure you're consistently working on different skills throughout the week.
I love that. And then to track your progress, Priya suggests the prompt, I've been practicing English for 3 months. Create a progress report based on our conversations highlighting my most common errors, vocabulary improvement, suggested next steps.
It's brilliant. You're basically using the AI as your own personal language learning analyst.
Yeah. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the biggest takeaways? What do our listeners need to remember?
Well, first of all, be specific with your prompts. Don't just say, help me with English.
Yeah.
Ask targeted questions, like explain the difference between effect and effect with examples.
Right. Be clear about what you want.
Exactly. And don't be shy about asking follow-up questions. If something's not clear, ask for more examples, ask for a simpler explanation.
Yeah, ChatGPT is there to help you.
Exactly. And remember, ChatGPT is one tool in your toolkit. Priya emphasizes combining it with other resources like language learning apps, textbooks, real conversations. Get that well-rounded approach. And finally, and this might be the most important piece of advice, be consistent. Even if it's just a few minutes each day, that regular practice with ChatGPT can really add up.
Yeah, consistency is key.
It really is. Small steps consistently lead to big results.
So just to sum it up, ChatGPT offers a really dynamic, personalized way to learn and improve your English skills. It can help with everything from basic grammar to, really specific things like pronunciation, professional communication. It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's a powerful tool.
And I really encourage all of our listeners to try it out. Use those examples we talked about, tailor the prompts to your own goals, what you want to improve.
Yeah, play around with it, experiment, have fun.
Exactly. Whether it's better conversation skills, writing, pronunciation, ChatGPT can help.
And this brings up a really interesting thought for our listeners to ponder. How is the rise of these AI